the crucial debt ceiling meeting between U.S. President Joe Biden and congressional leaders gets postponed to next week. Stocks close mixed on Wall Street. The Nasdaq closes higher, while the Dow and S&P 500 close with losses. Shares of Tesla rise as Elon Musk says he will step down as Twitter CEO. European markets close marginally lower as the Bank of England raises rates for the 12th consecutive time to fight rampant inflation. The bank delivers an expected 25 bips hike, taking rates to 4.25%. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific trade largely lower, while the SGX Nifty also indicates a lower start for the Indian market. Crude slips about 2% to around $75 a barrel as the political standoff over the debt ceiling crisis and rising jobless claims stoke recession fears. A stronger dollar also weighs on prices. And the MSCI announces its index rebalancing with changes that could potentially result in inflows of around $1.3 billion. A weight increase in Kotak Bank could result in inflows of over $800 million. Max Healthcare and Hindustan Aeronautics get included in the index, while Adani Transmission and Adani Total are excluded. The changes will be effective from the 31st of May. Eicher Motors delivers an all-round beat in the fourth quarter in key earnings to track. Automaker Tata Motors, pharma major Cipla, HPCL and DLF will all report fourth quarter numbers later today.
Brand Campaign of the Year Award to Doves, Young Turk Startup of the Year Award to Skyroot, the Disruptor of the Year Award to Idea Forge, the Special Recognition Award for Social Impact Icon to the late Ela Bhatt, the Outstanding Contribution to Brand India Award to Dilip Asme, the Sports Leader of the Year Award to World Champion Nikhat Zareen, Game Changer of the Year Award to the Board of Control for Cricket in India, BCCI, Entertainment Leader of the Year Award to Alia Bhatt, the Lifetime Achievement Award to Venu Srinivas, the Hall of Fame 2022 Award to Azim Premji, Outstanding Company of the Year Award to Infosys, the Outstanding Business Leader of the Year Award to TV Narendra.
All right, those are highlights from the CNBC-TV18 India Business Leader Awards held in Mumbai last night, where we honored the very best of India Inc. and spoke to a whole host of political leaders, of industrial leaders as well. So in case you missed that main event, we're going to bring you lots of snippets from that all through the day just to, keep you up to speed with everything that came out of that wonderful event. We're going to get to that in just a bit. But first up, as always, let's go through what's happening across the global markets. Like I was mentioning, it was quite a mixed handover from Wall Street, but, a lot of negative news that did come through, and on the back of that you have most Asian markets which are in the red. So you have the Taiwanese index up on your screen. It's down 0.3%. What's probably looking the worst this morning is the Straits Time, that is seeing a cut of 0.8% right now. Kospi is down 0.5% as well. The Taiwanese index, like I pointed out, around 0.3% lower. What's holding up in the green, you have the Nikkei market, so that's looking quite strong. It's up around 0.8%, that one holding up well. You also have the Hang Seng, which has moved into the green in the past few minutes, so that is up around 53 points right now. And the Shanghai market's absolutely flat, just around 7 points in the green. So very, very mixed picture as far as Asia goes. Let's bring the SGX Nifty up for you right now. Remember, we had a very flat close yesterday, just around 0.1% in the red. And for the SGX Nifty, it is indicating a lower start, around 65 points in the red. So that's what's happening across Asia. But let's also talk about the US markets, because there's lots of news flow that came through. We had Wall Street and Thursday's trading session mixed. So the Dow was down over 220 points. We had the S&P 500, which slid around 7 points, so a little bit of a cut there as well. And the Nasdaq Composite was around 22 points higher. Now, concerns around regional U.S. banks really flared up once again. This is as shares of PacWest Bancorp dropped over 22%. And this actually came through after news that deposits fell 9.5% in just 1 week. Separately, Elon Musk has said that Twitter will be getting a new CEO as well, while he will move to a more product and technical kind of role at the company. Musk also said that the new CEO will start in around 6 weeks from now. And finally, in more news from the U.S., we also had the debt ceiling meeting, which was actually slated for today between President Joe Biden and congressional leaders, which has now been postponed to sometime next week. So there's a lot of news flow that has come through from the U.S., but here's some important opinion also coming in from Liz Ann Saunders of Charles Schwab.
Well, the swaps market, you have to look at the range of positions that have been put on. And what's really happening is it suggests either the Fed pauses but then stays there for a while, or there's something more calamitous and they have to cut aggressively. You aggregate the data and it shows the possibility of rate cuts starting in mid-summer. So, understanding how the data is collected and then aggregated, I think, is important.
Right, that is the word coming in, that maybe we could see rate cuts starting in sometime mid-summer. But with that, let's also bring in the final update on our global market wrap this morning. We also got pretty mixed cues from Europe last night. So the French CAC was up around 20 points. We had the German DAX index, which was down 61, and the FTSE closed around 11 points lower as well. So very mixed picture as far as Europe goes. But the big cue that we're really tracking, we were talking about this yesterday as well, is that the Bank of England hiked interest rates by 25 basis points, and this now takes the main bank rate to 4.5%. The BOE has also revised its economic projections to now exclude a possibility of a recession in the UK this year. So that is what came through from Europe. And that's everything that we're really looking at in terms of global headlines. But with that, it is time for a break on the show. When we come back, we're going to tell you how all of these overnight cues could impact our own markets, as well as some individual domestic stocks that you should watch for. Stay tuned for that.
We don't just make new categories, we remake legends. In fact, we make the whole world of India's mobility new forever.
कुछ फ्रेंड्स ना बिल्कुल फैमिली जैसे होते हैं। मेरा फ्लैटमेट जस्ट लाइक माई मॉम।
कपड़े आज धोएगा या अगले साल?
हेलमेट ओए उठा। इसीलिए ना आई गॉट अस एयरटेल का फैमिली प्लान, 2 कनेक्शंस सिर्फ 599 में। मतलब वे बेटर देन अलग अलग रिचार्ज ना।
सुन, नाश्ता बनाऊं?
फ्रेंड्स हो या कॉलीग्स, सबके लिए है एयरटेल फैमिली प्लान।
ऑल्सो अवेलेबल फॉर रियल फैमिलीज।
Yes, it's okay for us to nod for everything. Because we are parrots. Yes, but your wealth manager? Shouldn't be doing that. You know?
Choose Nuvama. We only do what's right for you and your money. Nuvama. Let's do it right.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast, and let's now bring you the trade setup for the day. We have our research team here with exactly that. Mangalam, Ekta and Surbhi all join me now to prep you up for this trading session. Guys, a very good morning to all of you. Ekta, coming to you first. Take us through all of the domestic cues that we should track. We were, of course, looking at the global picture as well.
Thanks for that. Well, yes, yesterday the markets did close little changed amidst what was a volatile day on weekly expiry day. So the Sensex fell around 36 odd points. We had the Nifty, which fell around 18 odd points. FIIs continued to pitch in, so they net bought around 837 odd crores in equities yesterday, and the DIIs net sold around 200 odd crores. Now, in terms of the global markets, the US markets closed mixed as Disney results really dragged the Dow lower. We had the US Producer Price Index for April, which saw a further slowdown to around 2.3% versus 2.7%. Core prices slowed to around 3.2% as well. The debt ceiling meeting between President Joe Biden as well as the other leaders that was set for today, in fact, has been postponed to next week. So that would be something that the markets would watch. Separately, Bank of England has now raised rates to 4.5%, 12th consecutive hike which has taken place by Bank of England. So that would be something to note. It is now the highest since 2008 in terms of rates. Asia mixed at this point in time. SGX indicating a lower start. Brent crude is a bit lower as well, so that would work well for us. In terms of results today, we have a lot of results to watch out for, so it is going to be heavy in terms of the weekend. Cipla, HPCL, Tata Motors, Colgate, Dish TV, IOB, DLF, to name a few. So a lot of different results from different sectors which will be out. So that'll probably determine the intraday trajectory as well.
All right, Ekta, thanks a lot for running us through all of those cues. But let's now also talk about the individual names that you should track in today's session. We have Surbhi, who is standing by with that entire list of stocks. And once again, a lot of earnings. Surbhi.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for that. So we have a couple of earnings that we are watching out for today. The first one is Eicher Motors. The numbers were better than the CNBC-TV18 poll. The revenue came in at 3,800 odd crores. EBITDA came in at 934 crores. Margins came in at 25% versus our poll of 23.7% and a net profit of 906 crores. Moving on to Siemens, again the numbers were better than expected. Revenue of 4,900 odd crores. EBITDA of 621 crores. Margins of 12.8% versus expectations of 12.2%. GSPL, the numbers were largely in line with the poll. The revenue came in at 443 crores, EBITDA of 295 crores, and the net profit of 224 crores. Deepak Nitrite, the numbers were largely in poll in line with the Motilal Oswal estimates. The revenue was up 5%. The EBITDA was down 15%. Margins came in at 17.7% versus Motilal expectations of 16.5%. And lastly, Intellect Design, the revenue was up 21%. The EBITDA was up 13%, and margins came in at 22% versus 24% same time last year.
All right, Surbhi, thanks a lot for that. That is the entire list of stocks that we are tracking in terms of important results that came through. Finally, it's over to Mangalam, who joins in with all of the cues from the futures and options space. Mangalam, we closed marginally below that 18,300 mark. How's it looking this morning?
Well, it's a Friday morning and the SGX Nifty is indicating a dip. The question is, will bulls go ahead and buy that dip or not? Because so far, all the big dips levels closer to that 18,250 have been bought in the recent past. However, what one can't take away from is the fact that the Nifty continues to face congestion around 18,350 to 18,400. In fact, if you just take a look at this week itself, on Tuesday, which is May 9th, we had the Nifty high at 18,344, and from there it closed about 80 points lower. Yesterday as well, the high was closer to 18,400, and there towards the end, the Nifty fell about 90 odd points as well. And that's led actually by the Nifty Bank, which is facing supply. Yesterday, it hit a record high, and then it started to decline from there itself. In fact, all of last couple of weeks, on May 5th, the Nifty Bank fell about 900 points from the highs. This week on Tuesday itself, we saw a 335-point decline as soon as the Nifty Bank crossed past that 43,500 mark. And yesterday, after a record high, it fell about 300 points from there. So that's an important thing to watch out for. The other factor that did not work for bulls yesterday was, while the FIs continued to buy, this time around, the purchase was lower than the average of this month, and as a result of which, the net inflows by institutions was just about 600 crores versus the 1,000, 2,000 crores that we were seeing in all of last week itself. The FIs also added some short contracts, about 8,000 short contracts, and this means that the long contracts, which were close to 49%, have inched marginally lower to 47%. That brings us to the range. So for the options that expire next week, the street is working with a range of some supply around 18,400. That explains the writing at the 18,300 call, but they expect some support around 18,200 to 18,250, which is why the 18,300 put has been extremely active. Watch out for a couple of stocks, a lot of short positions added on Dr. Reddy's and L&T, and some longs added on Adani and Asian Paints.
Okay, Mangalam, thanks a lot for taking us through all of those cues from the futures and options space. But with that, it is time for us to bring you some highlights from the India Business Leader Awards. Azim Premji was conferred the Hall of Fame at the CNBC TV18 Awards last evening. And from the sidelines, Shireen Van spoke to the founder of Wipro, listening to this very special chat.
It's positive, not as positive as people make it out to be. But overall, it's positive. We are uniquely positioned, including our relationships with Russia, which helps a lot.
You said it's positive and we're uniquely positioned, and that's what I want to talk to you about. Everyone, of course, understands the software services story, and that has been one of our biggest sort of advantages over the last several decades post-liberalization. Now the hope is that we are going to be able to unshackle the manufacturing story that we've been in hope of for several years. Do you believe that we're at the cusp of now seeing a manufacturing revolution take off as well, given the unique advantages you spoke of?
Well, not as much as people expect. I think there's a lot of concern about the bureaucracy, and there's a lot of concern about the quality of the infrastructure. So we are losing a lot of business to countries like Bangladesh, for instance. We're losing a lot of business to countries like Vietnam, which we will be losing. So our share of what is moving out from China is nowhere close to what is the potential.
Let's talk about the IT services story. And what we are seeing at this point in time are challenges on account of external factors and the macroeconomic headwinds that the US is dealing with today. But there is, again, a lot of talk that we are on the cusp of the next disruption, and this disruption is going to be driven and led by AI. How do you see that?
It will be led. Huge investments are going into it. And we should not underestimate its application.
And where do you believe India finds itself in the AI race today? Do we have a unique position to be able to win in the AI age?
I think you'll see movements taking place. It's too early. At the moment, we are not having any leadership position. Nobody is doing very well, but I think this will catch up in the next 3 to 6 months.
Welcome back. Now, like we were telling you, the MSCI has announced its index rebalancing changes. This is for the month of May. So Vivek is here with all of the details. Hi, Vivek.
Well, good morning. Along expected lines, the MSCI has gone ahead and announced the index changes, the index inclusions as well as exclusions, and this is the quarterly index changes. Now, most of the index changes are largely in line with what the analysts were anticipating. A couple of highlights or a couple of positive surprises. Max Healthcare is a positive surprise. None of the quant analysts actually had this particular name in their list for an inclusion, but this particular name makes its entry into the MSCI Standard Index. Flows of close to $295 million is expected into this particular name, and these estimates are by Nuvama Alternative Research. The other names that enter the Standard Index are Sona BLW Precision as well as Hindustan Aeronautic Limited. On the other hand, the stocks that make their way out of the MSCI Standard Index are Indus Tower, Adani Transmission as well as Adani Total Gas. Kotak Mahindra Bank sees a large weight up of over $800 million.
All right, Vivek, thanks a lot for taking us through all of those changes on the MSCI. But with that, as promised, let's also talk about the world of commodities. We have Manisha joining us with a quick update. Manisha, there's been quite a fall in the crude prices. What's leading to that?
Oh, well, yes. We fell below $75 a barrel as well at one point in time, but holding above those numbers right now. That is because the markets are looking at stronger demand going forward from U.S. The disruption in U.S.-Canada pipeline also has been supportive. And then the markets also are looking at U.S. government statement, which says it will buy oil when prices are consistently at or below $70 a barrel. So that is a statement that the street is clearly looking at. But on the other side, there also is profit taking that we've seen in metals. So whether it's precious metals, gold fell, silver fell 5% in the overnight market. And the metals also are trading at a multi-month lows because of the US dollar strength, which is now above 102. And the lower inflation data that came in from China also seems to be weighing. So whether it's copper, that one is trading at a 4-month lows, aluminum at 7-month lows, zinc has fallen to a 26-month lows as we trade in Asia today.
All right, Manisha, thanks a lot for that. In fact, speaking of crude as well, we are getting a very special chat from the CNBC-TV18 India Business Leader Awards, which were held last evening. Union Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri defends India's stance to buy oil from Russia despite them invading Ukraine, and says that India doesn't have any ideological hang-ups on who it really imports from. He says that Europe would have been in a much deeper recession if there was no Russian oil. Listen in.
The situation is that the multilateral system in the United Nations, or the multilateral system anchored in the United Nations, is a broken system. Today, countries will fend for themselves. I don't think there's any popularity contest going out on there as to who has more admirers. I think the only contest you need to win is that if you're a democratically elected government, you will be answerable to your consumer, to your taxpayer, and today, in spite of all that has happened, all the cutbacks in production, I was looking at the benchmark figures today. I think one of them is at 72 and the other is at 76. This in spite of the cut in 1.6 million barrels of production in a day. By the way, for those of your friends, our friends here who don't know, the world consumes something like 100 million barrels a day. India consumes about 5 million barrels a day. We don't have any ideological hang-ups on whether we import 1 million from X, Y, or Z. Our traditional suppliers have been UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, and now Russia. And Guyana is coming on board, others, and I keep saying to my Western interlocutors, because they seem to be getting trapped in some kind of a moral halo of their own making, saying that, the world will move on, the world needs to get energy. And by the way, if India didn't buy that 30% of our requirement from the Russians, if we had to buy it from the Saudis and the UAE, and Russian oil was not on the market, you know what the price of oil today would be? So instead of one large European economy which is facing recession, it would have been in deep recession today.
All right, that is the word coming in from Hardeep Puri, telling us once again what we've heard several times from him, that, India has no ideological hang-ups when it comes to importing oil, and we will continue to do so from Russia as far as the country's oil imports go. But with that, we're going to wind down on this edition of Power Breakfast with the news that most Asian markets are lower. Nikkei and the Hang Seng markets hold up in the green, but the rest of them are lower. The SGX Nifty indicates a bit of a negative start for our own market, so around 60 points lower there. But with that, we're going to wind down in this edition of Power Breakfast. Thanks for tuning in. We have Bazaar Morning Call up next.
रब्बा ने तुझको बनाने में कर दी है हुस्न की खाली तिजोरियां, काजल की सियाही से लिखी है तूने जाने कितनों की लव स्टोरियां, केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया, रंग जाऊं जो मैं हाथ लगाऊं, दिन बीते सारे तेरी फिक्र में, रहने सारी तेरी खैर मनाऊं।